The following transmission contains unencrypted instances of explicit language.
Welcome back. This is part 2 of our tradecraft analysis of Mission Impossible 3. In part 1, we talked a bit about the genesis of this spy action franchise and went into some detail on analyzing the initial Berlin and Vatican ops as portrayed in the film. If you did miss out on that and you don't want to miss out again, the simple solution is to hit that subscribe button on iTunes, Google, or your favorite podcast app. Also, you can find updates on our Facebook page or website, spieslikeus.net. And please, we'd love to hear from you. Any feedback is appreciated. We're always trying to improve the show, and we can't do it without your help. Now, we are going to have a lot of fun talking about the second half of the movie here. But we did go into, in part 1, we did talk about, deconstructing some of the finer points of the Vatican op. We still need to talk a little bit about the broader implications and fallout that result from the successful extraction of the Owen Davian character from the Vatican. And that's where we're going to head right now on this episode of Spies Like Us. Now, all they knew going in was that PSH was going to be here, right, and that $850 million were involved somehow, and that something called the Rabbit's Foot was involved somehow. Mm-hmm. What's actually going on is PSH is at this party to obtain the location of the Rabbit's Foot. That's the information he gets in the dead drop briefcase.
Right.
And so by the end of this, with our IMF crew having successfully absconded with PSH and his briefcase, they are now in possession of that information about the Rabbit's Foot. I assume that Crudup knows what PSH is up to at the Vatican. So even though he's not been read in, he wasn't told that Ethan was going to go in, he does know, like, the significance of the information in the briefcase. That's going to become important later. And before we get out of the Vatican situation, though, too, I wanted to complain a little bit about how the end, how this op, like the final result of the op, it leaves the bad guys with a blown up sports car and a missing PSH. Now, at the beginning, Ethan said he wanted to do it all this way because he wanted to get PSH without anybody knowing PSH had been got.
Right.
I don't think this op accomplishes that. I think you've got a blown up sports car and there's no pieces of human in it.
Right.
You said you thought an explosion like this could, annihilate all. Do you still feel that way? I don't.
Well, when you mentioned like forensics, I was like, okay, but that would take a while to happen. You know what I mean? I don't know. From the explosion, it looked like everything got torn up. So like for any forensics to come back with anything and identify who was in the car, I think it would take some time. But you're right. You would think there would be blood or bone somewhere, right?
I think I could establish that within 5 minutes.
Okay.
with no training whatsoever.
Right.
So I don't think the op accomplishes the goal that it was stated to accomplish, but I'm going very, very minor spy points on that. Because I don't think it really matters. I think they still would have run the op exactly the way they did anyways. It's just like that line of dialogue where Tom Cruise says, like, getting him is good, getting his buyers is better, just wasn't necessary and didn't really hold up, at least to me.
And when did he get the buyers?
Well, that was supposed to happen later.
Oh.
I guess.
Right.
Guess again, like,
oh, that's right. Then a big crazy black army, some black ops army helicopter comes and gets PSH back.
Like, so good plan. If the plan was to also nab the buyers, then the good plan would have been to have the op result in them taking PSH off the board, but Tom Cruise could still be out and about pretending to be PSH, making contact with his buyers, and then they can nab them. But that's not how they played it. They played it in a way where they ended up trying to make everyone think PSH was dead, but then that also doesn't make sense anyways in the way it plays out. So, yeah. Trivia before we get out of the Vatican. Maggie Q had never driven a car before in her life.
Oh.
That Lamborghini, that beautiful fucking Lamborghini, is the first car she's ever been asked to drive. Can you imagine that?
No. That must have been tough for her to go from nothing to a Lambo.
Yeah, there's even a video you can see her accidentally running it into some other cars on the set.
Oh.
So yeah, Vatican, much more classic Mission Impossible kind of stuff that we expect from this franchise. And then we go into our next section of the movie where I called it in our notes, it all goes tits up.
Yep.
PSH is in transit, under heavy guard. Ethan and Luther are along the way. There's not a lot of tradecraft going on here, but we gotta say, it is a fuck yeah of a great action set piece. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, you talking about the bridge scene with the drone and the helicopter?
This shit was dope. This shit was really dope.
Yeah, there was a lot of explosions and guns a shooting. We got like special black ops guys like roping down, or what's that called? Belaying out of helicopters.
It kind of reminded me of the True Lies scene on the bridge.
Right. Yeah. Very similar.
By the way, that bridge, like originally JJ wanted to film it on an actual bridge, and then he realized just how impossible it would be to get the shots that he wanted. So that bridge is actually a fake that's built on solid ground. And the ocean part that you see, that's all CG'd in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Or green screened or whatever?
Green screened, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think it fucking absolutely looks perfect.
It looks
would
great.
not have guessed.
Yeah. It looks great.
It's almost even hard for me to believe until like I went and looked at some of the production footage of what it looks like with the camera crews, going just, I mean, it's just dirt on either side of the bridge, and they're able to like do all their filming and everything. Yeah. And while we're talking about how good this scene is, I want to say that this is the part where they Luther's guy apparently has decoded the microdot that Kerry Russell sent to Tom Cruise, warning him about Fishburne, and he's watching that in the car. And the way this action scene starts out is him watching that video and ending with the line, "I think I'm being set up," is timed perfectly. You're looking at Tom Cruise, looking at her video, and you can see in the back window, right when she says that, "I think I'm being set up," is like, boom, that fucking first RPG hit hitting the van at the back of the convoy. I went back and watched it several times. It's perfect. It is perfect timing. It is perfect ramping up of tension. And then like tension, as you're kind of getting the gist of what she's saying and what it means. And then "I think I'm being set up," and then just boom, drop you off a cliff. You're in fucking trouble. I love it. I love it. I think it's 5-star movie making right there. Just the timing and the shot of that. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
So again, not a lot to say about the action scene. It's not tradecrafty. It's just great action. This scene's going to end with PSH getting away. Who's rescuing him?
I don't know what organization is rescuing him, but if he's that big of a VIP villain, I'm sure he's got some sort of Blackwater organization under payroll. And I'm sure Crudup is the one that got him out. Because the only way that any information about... Oh, wait, that's right. Ethan made it specifically to leave Crudup out. So how was he even... Well...
Oh, no. Wait. Actually, but at this point, Crudup does know that Ethan has extracted PSH because Fishburne tells him about it. So at this point, Crudup does know.
Then it probably was Crudup that called in somebody that is loyal to PSH. That would be my... I don't think there's any I don't think it was the IMF, for sure. Like, it was probably some, like, mercenary Blackwater type organization.
In later movies, they're kind of building up the notion of this syndicate, which is like their stand-in for who are the ultimate bad guys in the Bond movies? Umbrella? No.
That's Resident Evil. I forgot.
But yeah, one of those kind of evil syndicates. Retconning it in, I could possibly imagine that. There's no evidence to support it, but I could imagine that PSH is maybe syndicate protected.
Mm-hmm.
It could be he does have his own private army.
Right.
It maybe stretches plausibility that Crudup could reach out to do this using his resources, but I mean, we see a lot in this movie that, like, different aspects of the IMF don't necessarily need to tell each other what's going on right away. I mean, how does Ethan get all these resources to do this op without, getting it cleared by Fishburne in the first place? Mm-hmm. Like the Vatican thing. I mean,
right.
So, it's possible Crudup's got some way to, like, reach out and help, but I don't like that theory, and these are just theories. I really don't land anywhere particularly, but just to mention that if it is Crudup, that wouldn't make sense to me, because at the end of the movie, he's going to say, like, basically that PSHs are a dime a dozen. They're like weeds.
Mm-hmm.
You root one out, two grow in their place. So he shouldn't be ever taking any extreme risks to protect PSH. If that's his belief, that if PSH was taken down, he could just as easily find another guy to accomplish his goals. Right.
But it wouldn't have been much of a risk. He might know who, and if he's working with PSH, he would know the right guys to send a message to. So he could have just, like, gotten the word out that PSH was in trouble.
Yeah, like I said, it's retconning, but honestly, the syndicate theory is my favorite.
Oh, yeah. No, but I'm wondering if Crudup might have messaged the syndicate. But yeah, we don't get any of this information, so we're definitely just taking a stab at it.
Yeah. But I thought it was worth a couple minutes to wonder and wander about. Right. But yeah, PSH is free and clear. Ethan is wanted for questioning. The movie wants us to think, like, right now he looks bad. What's Fishburne's thinking on this again? Number one, I reviewed your Berlin transcript, and apparently Carrie Russell wanted to tell you something that she didn't want us to know.
Right, off the record. So he's withholding information.
So
he also went on this rogue mission.
Uh-huh.
Right. So he's not following protocols. Things look pretty bad. And there was a lot of damage done at the Vatican, right?
The Vatican might be mad.
Right, exactly. Just blew up a Lamborghini in the Vatican, right?
Right.
Or just outside of it, and broke down a bunch of ancient walls,
Sure. We imagine it's not shown in the movie, but at least you and I imagine that the Vatican's got some serious intelligence operations and some political pull behind the scenes, right?
Right.
So yeah, it could be them yelling about this bullshit. Let's see. Fishburne. Oh, the thing was. Oh, yeah. So he got. Right. So how did he know that she had information to share with Ethan? The only thing I got on that is that, playing the transcript, she's like, turn off your transmitter, turn off your transmitter. I want to tell you something secret, which she doesn't get a chance to do. Pedantic, minus 5 points on this. Ethan can read lips. She should know he can read lips. She shouldn't be saying...
He was her teacher, right?
She shouldn't be saying, turn off your transmitter out loud. She should have said it the way Crudup does later in this. And
I really liked. I liked the Crudup thing where he just gives him a knife. That was a little believable. He just knows like Ethan Hunt's level of skill can get him out.
Was it a knife or just a lockpick?
I think he just gave him a knife.
Oh, okay, awesome.
It looked like a tiny little folding knife, but I don't know. Maybe it was just a lockpick. But it was fun.
But yeah, Ethan looks bad at this point, which circling back to, I think, my central theme about this movie, everything is story-driven, not plot-driven. I cannot determine that it's to anybody's benefit. In fact, I think it's to nobody's benefit in this film that Ethan comes under suspicion. I think it just kind of happened and not planned. Like, PSH wants the rabbit's foot, and he wants Ethan to get it. So it's not to PSH's advantage that Ethan is, restrained and, doing they do the whole Hannibal Lecter thing on him. Yeah. It's not to Crudup's benefit. It's not. Yeah. So that just seems to been a wrinkle in their plan.
Yeah.
And it's this plan that is now hatched, I guess, in the moment to have Ethan go and grab the rabbit's foot. Presumably PSH had some, like, if all the Vatican shit hadn't happened, he'd have gotten the location of the rabbit's foot and he either would have bought it or stolen it on his own. Which he still could do at this point in the movie, right?
Yeah.
So having Ethan do it is, I guess, just like movie stuff.
I think so. That's kind of how I felt. I was like, well, why didn't he just go get it himself? He was planning on getting himself anyway.
Right. Or if at any point, earlier the plan had been to like rope Ethan into this situation so that they could get leverage on him to go get the rabbit's foot for them, because for some reason they think, well, I mean, Ethan is a really good thief. I mean, we know that. We've established that. He's probably the best thief in the world. But if at any point previous to this that had been their plan, they could have just kidnapped Julia in the first place.
Right.
They didn't have to wait until this point for him to do it. So, it doesn't serve the villains.
The only thing I can think of is that he wanted his revenge for the airplane.
Yeah.
He did say, I'm going to find your girl and hurt her. So I guess that's the only point, is I'm going to make him do it's kind of like in those movies where you make the guy you're about to kill dig his own grave.
Right.
That's the only thing I can think of, but I don't know. That's about it.
Yep. That's what we want from this movie. We want to know, like, as audience members, we want to have seen PSH deliver his promise to Ethan of how this is going to end. And we want to be really fucking scared and on the edge of our seats when we think that promise is about to be cashed in and delivered on. So yeah, like, I guess, Ethan getting, falling under suspicion and getting captured is just kind of a side journey that doesn't mean anything, but Crudup gets him out. This is going to be important later for, I think, one of my worst tradecrafts. Let's just say for right now, let's remember that Crudup trusts, okay, I'll give you the setup now and the payoff later. At this point in the movie, Crudup trusts that Ethan, fully restrained, full-on Hannibal Lecter, mouth guarded, with a little pocket knife, is going to be able to tackle 4 armed guards in an elevator. He's confident.
At IMF headquarters.
Right.
Mind you. Yeah.
Right. He's confident that if he slips him that little thing, that he knows how that shit'll go down. I'll come back with the payoff later. Let's go to Shanghai. I mentioned a few minutes ago that it just seems like IMF, I don't know, that their ops are kind of maybe segregated in ways that I don't buy in real life. Mm-hmm. Crudup sends Ethan's team to assist him in Shanghai, where he's supposed to get the rabbit's foot. I think this is the second time that he's arranged an op without Fishburne knowing about it. Mm-hmm. And Ethan arranged an op without Fishburne knowing about it. I mean, Fishburne does catch on to these things hours later, mm-hmm. It's come to my attention, this happened. Right. But I don't know, I don't know, maybe because the IMF, they're fictional, they're fantastic. Maybe that's part of their operational procedure in this universe. Mm-hmm. But it's not very realistic. So we'll tag that with some -5 points. You said you didn't like the Shanghai part, which is gratefully short, I think. Well, no, it's got some good action stuff.
Yeah, I like the baseball's distraction because just as an audience member, they were talking of, Ethan's doing the physics math on the window, trying to figure out how he's about to swing from a skyscraper to a skyscraper. And so we just think it's going to happen, but then these baseballs start falling. And that was their distraction for the guards on the roof, which I thought was kind of cool.
It's delightfully low tech.
Right. And it's really weird, right? They're just using, when you go to the batting cages, those little machines where you drop the ball in and it shoots the ball out, really. They just start shooting balls at the roof, which gets a distraction from the guards, I guess. I thought that was cute just as an audience member watching a movie. But in general, I did not like the skyscraper jump. I thought it was silly.
I appreciated the fact that they felt confident, and knowing that it's not that important to the movie, I appreciate that most of whatever Ethan is doing inside the building, we're just we'll just wait till he runs out and skip that part. I appreciated that. Personally. So he's got the foot. He's got the rabbit's foot.
Right.
And he's going to show up at the place that they say for him to go to. Let's talk about this part a little. He's just showing up with the foot, and entrusting himself to whatever PSH has got in store. Any thoughts on that from your side?
I mean, I don't like that, he's going to let himself get poisoned and go out by himself, but I guess he doesn't have any options because of the hostage. It's his wife. But I really didn't like anything in Shanghai. Other than the car chase was fun where they were shooting at each other and him leaning out the door. But yeah, in general, him going out to the middle of this sketch area, he agrees to poison himself and then wakes up to PSH pointing a gun at what he believes to be his wife. I don't know. I guess he didn't have any choice, but I didn't like this situation very much anyway.
I'm gonna quibble with he didn't have any choice. I've seen tons of these movies where when you have something that each player on the board has something the other person wants. Right. Jason Bourne wouldn't have gotten into that limo.
Probably not, yeah.
He would have had, and Ethan Hunt is perfectly capable of imagining up some kind of, handoff negotiation kind of thing, I think. But no, he just walks in lamb to the slaughter. I call it minus 5 points. He is saying goodbye to his team. Hope I see you tomorrow, but I don't know. He tagged the rabbit's foot, so there is a tracker on it. His team should be able to be right on top of his shit.
Yeah, that's true.
He tells Crudup, who he doesn't yet suspect, he says, wait 8 hours, and if you don't hear from me, send an army in.
Right.
Why? Why wait the 8 hours? Right. Like, they should already be on their way. I'm calling that my number 3 worst tradecraft.
Yeah.
Of this movie, especially because I think, like, we've seen before, like I said, like Jason Bourne would have had a plan. Ethan Hunt can definitely come up with a plan for this that doesn't involve him just like completely surrendering.
Yeah.
But that's how we get to the scene that everyone remembers. Like if you only saw this movie once and it was 15 years ago, what's the one scene you remember?
Yeah, the one where he's got Tom Cruise in the chair tied up and he's going to shoot Julia and he's like counting, tell me where the rabbit's foot is. Yeah, this is great performance from PSH. I really enjoyed it. We go back to the opening scene. This is the opening scene that we start with. And now we come back. We've gone through the whole story of what got us to this scene, and now we're there.
I wondered a little if it was always in the script to prelude this scene at the beginning of the movie. It definitely works. I could also imagine that, like, maybe they hadn't had it like that in the script, but at some point realized Philip Seymour Hoffman is not in this movie enough.
Right.
And came back and did it this way. Either way, great choice. Really good choice. Like Absolutely. the premonition of what's going on is and when we get to the scene as audience members, we're like, oh fuck, this is that shit. And we've seen Ethan like so much on his game. It's really nice. And you mentioned PSH's performance, which is stellar. Tom Cruise is doing some top level Tom Cruise acting in this scene as well. As far as I know, like a lot of the critics that I personally respect, like really, really look for like subtlety in actors' performances. And that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. When people go broad and just chew the fucking scenery, like I'm like, fuck yeah.
Right.
But one thing that will leap out at me in a performance is watching multiple emotions conflicting on an actor's face simultaneously. And that is something that I think Tom Cruise like just fucking knocks it out of the goddamn park in this sequence.
Oh yeah, this is definitely probably among Tom Cruise's best acting moments, I would say. Like I like he has a lot of moments that are really powerful, and I think this is one of them. And I like that you pointed out the conflict of his emotions. Like he's trying to keep his cool and use his training for negotiations, but his wife's got a gun to her head, or who he thinks is his wife, and he's like confused. He just woke up from being drugged. He thought he brought the right thing. He's being told it wasn't the right thing. And so he's trying to go into, so you're right. Yeah. He does go through like a range of emotions. And I think he did a great job.
So what's the, can you help us tangle into like, because we're going to find out this is all a charade on the part of PSH. It's not actually Julia in the chair. So what's really going on here?
So we got another use of the masks, and I call massive bullshit on this, but whatever. The idea is, so at the Vatican when Maggie Q spills the wine, and I guess there was the lady translating. I guess PSH's character believed the translator failed him at the Vatican, like not stopping her from spilling wine on him or not spotting that wasn't PSH in the mask and it was Tom Cruise, which I agree with because they don't have anywhere the same build or height.
We forgot to mention that. Oh, right. Oh, can I please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Or just go ahead, go back and underline that one.
Yeah, like when he, I mean, like we were both saying
back in the Vatican.
Back in the Vatican, Tom Cruise puts on the mask and the suit and stuff, and Tom and I are like, well, they don't have the same build. But then there's a shot where Tom Cruise looks bigger, so I guess they put him in a fat suit. But even with that, the height between them is a difference, right? There's a difference in their heights.
There's a massive difference between Tom Cruise and Philip Seymour Hoffman as far as just bulk,
right,
and height. Yeah, 100%.
So,
I'm glad you remembered that one because I would have felt really shitty if we had published this pod. Like I would have been listening through the editing and saying, "Oh fuck, we forgot to mention that one."
Yeah, right. And that makes me feel like, well, the translate, I guess he feels shit. Well, first of all, why didn't the guard fail him? Her and the guard failed him, right? But I guess the translator should know his voice better or know how he talks better. But the idea is he believes his translator failed him, so he put her in a Julia mask. They're going to use a fake Julia to verify if the rabbit's foot is the real rabbit's foot, by threatening to kill Julia, which is actually the translator. And that's like the big reveal. It's not really Julia. She's alive. Yeah, let's just tear off this fake mask and show, aha, it wasn't Julia. We just need to verify if the rabbit's foot was real. Which I feel kind of is bullshit. I mean, I guess threatening to kill his wife, but I don't know why they had to use a fake Julia. My whole thing is, if we really want to do some mental gymnastics here, Philip Seymour Hoffman is doing this because he's going to use Tom Cruise to kill Crudup, and he knows that Tom Cruise is going to get out of this situation because he's that good, and his plan is to hurt Julia in front of Tom Cruise anyway. This feels like way overcomplicated for just to make the movie interesting. You know, there's no reason why they needed a fake Julia. Like having her alive or dead is irrelevant. If it was actually Julia they killed, they still get the information of verifying the rabbit's foot. But I don't really think they needed to go to these lengths to verify it was the rabbit's foot. You know what I mean? I think a lot of this was just added in at the end to be like more interesting, or ooh, look at the twist.
Goes to my massive, my underlying thesis of the movie. Everything is based on story, character beats, emotional climaxes. And the plot is just kind of connective tissue that was like put in later to get the movie to where it wanted to go at any given point. Mm-hmm. Analysis of the plot and motives here with threatening Julia. Okay, so I guess their concern is that he might have given them a fake, right?
Yeah,
and they can't have that happen. They need to know that what he gave them is real. There's a few possible scenarios here. Ethan Hunt might have the rabbit's foot and given them the real rabbit's foot.
Right.
That's the simplest one.
Right.
He might have the rabbit's foot and have given them a fake.
Right.
Or he might not have the rabbit's foot and give them a fake.
Right.
It's the middle one, the one where he has it but gave them a fake, is that one requires them to know that he actually has it, because in the third scenario would fall apart if you watch this scene. If he actually didn't get the rabbit's foot but gave them a fake, which should be at least a theory in their mind that could be the case. They know
China happened, right? Wouldn't they all know the China thing happened?
They know that. Well, that's the thing. If they know that he did get the real one, then this scene makes sense. If they don't know that he actually has the real one, then all of his reactions that and I watched it several times to triple check this, like all of his reactions would make actual sense. He's like, I'll get it for you. I will. I'll get it for you. Just
right.
So they have to believe that he actually got it.
Right.
Whether or not they know he's giving them the real thing, that's what they're trying to establish. But if they don't know that he actually is in possession of the real thing, then the scene falls apart. So I think they're counting on the fact that they absolutely believe that Crudup absolutely believes that Ethan is being honest with him when Ethan reports to Crudup that I got it.
Right.
And gives him the tracking information for it.
Right.
But that could potentially fall apart if we go too deep in the rabbit's hole of Crudup wondering whether or not Carrie Russell's message had outed him to Ethan. Did I get that all right?
I think so. All I gather from this whole thing is it was all unnecessary. I don't think they needed to verify it, and even if they did, there was no reason to use a fake Julia. PSH wanted to hurt Tom Cruise to Ethan Hunt anyway, so just kill the real Julia. Why? There's no reason for this other than having a twist. Like what a twist! Like that was the entire point of that's why. I don't know. A lot of this movie I didn't enjoy, but for sure, starting from Shanghai onward, I was just like, oh my God, when is this going to be over? Other than when PSH shows up and does his amazing acting.
He carries this movie. He carries this fucking movie.
Yeah, he definitely.
And he does it in very, very, with very little screen time. Overall, he's I think he's only in this movie for 11 minutes total. Yeah.
He's not even much, but he makes it so much. He makes the movie. Yeah. It's a lot of, I enjoyed everything about it.
So when Crudup does, okay, so, I get it. I mean, again, it's these quick little hops of logic. They're not hard for me to make. It's not gymnastics, but I get it. They're just I don't know. They're just so, I don't know, don't feel impactful. The background plot of what the villains are trying to accomplish at the end of the day doesn't feel nearly as important as, what JJ was clearly trying to do was just set up this huge, emotional conflict between Cruise and PSH, which the movie succeeds on that level. But on the plot wise, when we get here, I guess Crudup convinced PSH to not kill Julia because he wanted Julia to still be a chip to find out from Ethan about what Carrie Russell's message had been. I don't buy it on PSH's character. I feel like he just would have done his shit right now. I mean, he clearly wasn't on the same page with Crudup in the first mission. Where the idea, Crudup's ideal goal would have been for Carrie Russell to be rescued with the false impression that Fishburne had set her up. Clearly PSH and Crudup weren't on the same page there. I feel like PSH would have just done the dirty right here.
Right.
But then we get Crudup to show up and do a very, very classic, here's the villain explaining his master plan. He really drops an info dump on Ethan. Do you think he's actually trying to convince Ethan? Dude, his plan is such bullshit. Like, his plan is like, I want to help PSH get the rabbit's foot and deliver it to a buyer in the Middle East for a country that we want an excuse to go in and do America stuff, Desert Storm kind of America stuff. It's a really stupid plan. I can't tell if Crudup is actually thinks there's a chance, because he's giving his raisins to
Right.
Ethan, right? He's like, this is for our soldiers, this is for our families, this is for our
And this
country,
is for America, and
this is
whatever.
for America. Do we think Crudup thinks that Ethan's gonna buy any of it, or is he just like, well, that would be implausible.
I don't know why he would. The only thing that Ethan's thinking about right now is his wife.
Right. Or I think honestly, at the end of the day, he's just doing Hollywood stuff. He's just explaining the fucking plot to James Bond. Might as well have a laser pointed at his balls. Or some fucking sharks.
And a cat.
And a cat. Yeah. So here's my payoff for my worst number 2 tradecraft. Remember previously? Okay, I slipped you a little pocket knife and expected you to get out of full-on Hannibal Lecter restraints and destroy 4 fully armed guards, which I think had like automatic weapons and everything, a little elevator. Here, the ploy that Ethan makes is like, I'll give you what you want, but I gotta hear her voice. And that's a ploy to get Crudup's phone, and therefore his hand, close enough to Ethan's face that he can bite it and, from there just do Ethan Hunt stuff. Mm-hmm. Crudup should know better than that.
Yeah, he's the one that helped him break out, right?
He literally, just based on, he knows Ethan's capabilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, dumb. Minus 5 points. Worst number 2 from me. Everything works out. We get the fight with PSH and Ethan Hunt, and Crudup gets killed, and all the bad guys are dead, and, Tom Cruise is going to open up to Julia and tell him about his real life, and happily ever after. I guess this would be the postscript of the movie, is where I get my hard, capital H hard, number 1 worst tradecraft. Fishburne is congratulating Ethan for a job well done. Bullshit. Ethan, was constantly like operating outside of Fishburne's jurisdiction, or, and outside of his like knowledge of what was going on. Mm-hmm. He made, Fishburne's greatest scene in this movie is the part where he's dressing them down over the failure of the initial op. And, he says, I can tolerate a lot, but there's one thing I lose sleep over, and I love my sleep, is the idea of a rogue agent just going off the rails and doing shit on their own. That's all Ethan Hunt did in this entire movie.
Yeah.
This shit sucks.
Yeah.
Even the idea, Tom, Ethan Hunt, you've got the rabbit's foot. Okay, I get it. You want to save your wife, but do your fucking job, protect the world. Let me in on. It's just, I don't know. Have I said enough about that? I think I have.
Yeah.
And then I'll tack on some extra minus 5 points of okay, I get it. Ethan's gonna finally tell Julia what he really does for a living. But bringing her into IMF headquarters, introducing her to the other members of his team, this is not good. This is good storytelling.
She might have been taken into headquarters for debriefing. I'm sure she was going to be interviewed and interrogated and questioned, right? And they would all be there anyway. But yeah, you're right. This is more like Hey, the story. Yay, they're all friends now.
Like, yeah, it's a super like feel good, everyone like group hug kind of thing that
Yeah,
just makes absolutely no sense.
yeah,
Um, and is like an egregious security breach.
right.
Um, I'm even wondering at this point too, real quick before we go to debriefing, like, what is Luther and Ethan's actual relationship? Like, they act at some point like they're friends in real life, like outside of missions,
hmm
but they don't hang out together.
Right.
Like, they don't, we never see, like, every time we see Luther, like, and Luther is the guy that always seems to be like the guy, like, okay, oh yeah, same old Ethan, like,
Yeah.
really knows him, is really like up in his grill, as a friend. But the only time Luther ever shows up in the movies is like, like an airdrop, like, in the Sahara Desert, like randomly, like we chose this location to meet up and then we do
Uh,
our operation and we split up like ghosts. They don't go to each other's barbecues. Luther
mhm.
wasn't invited to Tom Cruise's party.
Right. Yeah. Well, and he even says, I'm probably never going to meet her. And that's why, like, the whole thing at the end, oh, they got to meet, you know?
Yeah, it's just weird. I just wonder about it. Um, I went looking for fan fiction and I found it. But we're not going to talk about that. Let's just say Luther's on top in that one.
Agents, please report for debriefing on this operation. The director will see you now.
I really like this movie. It's a lot of fun for me. And I kind of am the one that brought it up. When Todd wanted to do Mission Impossible, I kind of was like, yeah, let's do on my three because that's the one I like. But compared to our other spy films and like my enjoyment of them, I'm probably gonna go with a 3.5 on this one. I had a lot of fun with this movie, but I don't want it to match our fours or my fours and fives as far as rating goes. So I'm gonna go with a 3.5.
I'm pleasantly surprised that you went to the 3.5. I thought it would have been lower for you because I know that action spy movies are not really your bag.
Right.
Um,
PSH is what pulled me over.
Yeah,
How fucked up the airplane scene and the gun on Julia scene. Yeah, I think
he's
it was him.
he's the thing. He's the thing
Yeah,
about it, for sure.
right. Yeah,
Let's see. So you're at 3.5. Let's see. Sneakers. Can I? Well, I'm not going Atomic Blonde. I'm not going Day of the Jackal. No, I'm looking at my fours as well. I think you nailed it. I think you
yeah,
nailed it, and
right.
I think that's the right number. It's absolutely a 3.5. Yeah, you started with star ratings. I'll start with my best tradecraft. Uh, Number three. Even though it wasn't like fully on view in the movie, but looking back through the way Crudup um, is just playing angles. Like
Mhm.
he's making the call from Fishburne's office. He can't necessarily, as far as I know, be sure that Kerry Russell is going to intercept and understand the implications of that, but he's accomplishing several things all at once.
Right.
That's yeah, that's good tradecraft in me. I don't think I think didn't get to mention this. Let's just say a hospital is a really great place to kidnap someone because you can just walk them out the front door on a
Yeah.
stretcher.
Right.
My number one best, the wine spill shirt thing gives a great excuse for the conversation and the flirting that is necessary to separate Ethan as PSH from his guards. That was my favorite.
My number 3 best tradecraft was the brain explosive. I just thought it was a good insurance concept of if they get away, you can keep them alive, but if they get away, you still got them in your clutches type of thing. My number 2 best tradecraft was the disposable phone dead drop. It was nice. I liked it, but for sure my number 1 best tradecraft was the guard costume that Reese had to change into to communicate to the other guard that Maggie Q was in fact on the list, driving up in her Lamborghini. I liked that. Like the teamwork of getting her in the building, and she had to come in with style and flash and pizzazz and hoity-toity. So those are mine. Todd, your worst?
All of my worst are pretty bad. They were difficult to order. Ethan, he's got the rabbit's foot, and he's just gonna walk into the dragon's den with no defenses, whereas he has all the resources and all the intelligence to be able to plan this out better. It's absolutely just story stuff. Doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Number 2, Credit, buddy. If I can take out 4 guards, I felt like I talked about this enough, but if I can take out 4 guards out of a full-on fucking Hannibal Lecter restraint, I can take you out if you get close to me. So you should know better, buddy.
Right.
Number 1, Fishburne congratulating Ethan at the end. Bullshit. This is it runs entirely counter to not just Fishburne's like the attitude that he's displayed in the movie, but also is just plain bad. Yeah. Like, you should be firing Tom Cruise from the IMF for the way he behaved. You really should. Right. You really should. You're fired. What do you got?
My number 3 best or worst tradecraft was Philip Seymour Hoffman reading the words. Remember, I'd mentioned throughout the podcast that we avoided a lot of low-hanging fruit, so I was highly critical of PSH because he was built up and explained as this like super crazy, elusive, intelligence genius, villain, terrorist, arms dealer. So somebody tries to knock you out in the bathroom and they look just like you and they want you to start reading words. I'm sure at your level, you know that those voice thingies work. And I would have told him to go fuck himself. But that leads into my number 2 worst tradecraft was PSH falling for the wine. If you're this type of VIP, I'm sure people are trying to spill wine on you all the time or rub poisons on or whatever. Your guards shouldn't have let anybody get that close to you. Number 2, you somebody spilling wine on you should have triggered they probably want to get me alone. Maybe I shouldn't go alone to the bathroom without my guard. So I'm putting all of that critique on PSH's character because he was built up as just like a super genius villain, elusive type, and made all these blunders. But my number 1 worst tradecraft was definitely the Vatican op itself. I don't think it should have happened, period, other than when you're trying to make a giant blockbuster summer hit. I think they should have waited till he left the Vatican and caught him on the way. If they wanted to get into the Vatican and spot him and identify him and then keep eyes on him, okay, fine. But I think they should have caught him at a much more weaker security point. But yeah, those are my worst. On our park benches.
Yeah, so park benches, now we're talking about, a value between 1 and 5 in general, although we have been known to dip into the 0.5 area.
Right.
This is just how we feel about the tradecraft as portrayed in the movie, mostly based on realism, but sometimes we also weigh it on how much of it we actually get to see. Where are we going to start the bid here?
I want to start at a 1.
You want to start it at 1.
I think it's better than Our Man Flint, but a lot of this was fantastical. So you might be able to talk me to a 1.5, but I think Red definitely had better tradecraft. At least realistic, if we're going realistic. A lot of this was over the top.
I think Red's got a lot of the same kind of problems that this movie has. I think La Femme Nikita has a lot of the same kind of problems this movie has. Like, I'm just looking at our 2s.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You're right. I'm looking at our 1.5s, and it's like Get Smart and Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I think I could talk you into it too. I think this goes right alongside Red, honestly.
Okay.
Although, I mean, it's difficult because we're accepting the masks as existing.
Yeah, right. And the giant skyscraper jump, and I don't know, a lot of stuff.
Okay, but the skyscraper jump, I don't think should be part of our factoring in, because that's just an action scene. That's not tradecraft.
Well, that's how he infiltrated the building. They were like, it's impossible to get in. Well, what if I get in through the roof, And he's just doing all his physics. Yeah.
Let's go back to 1.5, because which was your initial bid, right?
I wanted to start at a 1.
Oh, started at 1.
Now that we're talking, I'm looking at our 1.5s, and it's like Get Smart and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And I want to say that's a little bit better. So I'm thinking a 2 is actually pretty good. I just wanted to go higher than Our Man Flint. That's how I felt. I was like, this is better than Our Man Flint, right? But but now that I'm looking at our 1s and our 1.5s, I feel you. Like a 2 sounds good. A 2 definitely sounds good.
See, now, not to prolong this agonizing process, like I said, I think the best analog of things we've done before is Red.
Right.
But Red doesn't have masks. And it doesn't have science fiction, to its credit.
And it's got a lot of cool tradecraft, It's a lot better than you would expect from a spy comedy, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of on the low end, but but this is why I'm feeling like I don't think I want to talk you all the way up from a 1 to a 2. I think I want to meet you at 1.5.
Okay. I mean, even The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Get Smart had some pretty good tradecraft, but I just feel this was so over the top stuff. I don't really.
Well, also, it's like okay, for me, part of it is like, even though the tradecraft that we saw ultimately made sense, or at least could make sense with very short hops of logic, which were easy to digest, there wasn't much.
Right.
And it wasn't impactful.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's go with 1.5 and call this a wrap.
Sounds good. That's
all
it.
Right.
1.5 park benches. Mission Impossible 3. And that's the end of our show. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at spies_like_us. Visit us on our website at www.spieslikeus.net. You can find out about upcoming episodes. Also, what will really help us out is if you give us a review on wherever you found our podcast, either on iTunes or your Android app or YouTube or wherever you listen to us. Even if you didn't like the show, just give us a review. It'll help us, give us feedback so we can make the show better. And it can also help other people who haven't found the show yet find out about us. Hey, Moira, initiate Protocol 9.
Protocol 9 initiated. This podcast will self-destruct in 20 seconds. The preceding transmission sampled the songs Ice Cold by Audionautics, Enter the Party by Kevin MacLeod, and sound effects from freesound.org. Attributions and links are found at spieslikeus.net. Editing by Todd Hostetler.